What if I told you that India once flew a French-designed aircraft that carried the soul of a storm, was baptized by fire, and shaped the very character of a newly independent nation's air power? A jet that roared over deserts, stood guard in conflict zones, and became a symbol of emerging ambition in Asia? Welcome to the story of the Dassault Ouragan, better known in India as the Toofani, a name that means storm bringer. But the true storm was not in the sky. It was in what this aircraft represented. In the years following World War II, the global aviation industry was changing rapidly. While the US and USSR flexed their Cold War air muscles, India, a nation fresh from colonial rule, was beginning to chart its own destiny. What fighter jet would define its skies? What machine would transition it from propellers to jets? Enter the Dassault Ouragan. Born in post-war France, this single-seat fighter bomber was built for agility, durability, and pure muscle. With its nose-mounted air intake and powerful Rolls-Royce Nene engine, the Ouragan was the symbol of European jet innovation. But in India, it became something more, a warrior of the skies. India ordered 71 Ouragans in the 1950s. When they landed on Indian soil, they weren't just machines, they were statements. This was India saying to the world, "We are not observers in the jet age. We are participants." And with every Toofani jet that screamed across Indian skies, this message was etched deeper. Let's talk power. The Ouragan was capable of speeds up to 940 kilometers per hour, with a range of nearly 1,000 kilometers. It was armed with four 20mm Hispano-Suiza cannons, and could carry bombs or rockets, making it versatile for both air-to-air and air-to-ground missions. But specs alone don't tell the story. The Toofani became operational at a time when regional tensions were rising. With neighbors arming up, India had to defend not just its borders but its very sovereignty in the air. The Toofani stood guard. It trained new generations of pilots. It was among the first jets that helped Indian aviators transition from classic dogfighting to high-speed jet tactics. Now here's something you probably didn't know. The Ouragan wasn't even France's top-tier jet when India bought it. The Mystere series was already being developed. But India wasn't just buying hardware. It was buying experience, relationships, a foot in the door of jet development. And from those seeds came decades of French-Indian defense partnerships that would one day lead to the Rafale. The Toofani served until the 1960s, playing critical roles in both training and combat readiness. But beyond service dates, what mattered most was how this aircraft helped build the Indian Air Force's confidence in operating and maintaining jet aircraft at scale. Imagine being a pilot in the 1950s, strapping into the Toofani with no computerized HUDs, no digital fly-by-wire systems, no radar guidance. Just raw mechanical flight and instinct. Every sortie was a calculated risk. Every mission was a test of steel, both the machines and the pilots. The Toofani was respected, but not feared. It was elegant but not flashy. And perhaps that's what made it special. It was not a war celebrity. It was a workhorse. Reliable, predictable, loyal. If you talk to old Indian Air Force veterans, many will speak of the Toofani with a quiet reverence. It wasn't the most powerful jet they flew, but it was the first that made them feel like they were flying into the future. Here's a visual for you. A squadron of Dassault Ouragans taking off in desert heat, wheels spinning, sand clouds rising behind, cockpits gleaming in the sunlight, their tricolor insignias catching the light. That's not just a flight. That's history, moving at the speed of sound. But it wasn't just Indian pilots who admired it. Western analysts at the time noted how quickly India was adapting to jet warfare, and the Toofani was the vessel of that transformation. To the US audience, the story of the Ouragan might feel distant. But think of it like this: every F-86 Sabre, every F-9F Panther, every F-84 Thunderjet had its counterparts around the world. The Toofani was India's bridge between the piston age and the jet age, just like those American classics were in Korea and Europe. In fact, imagine the scene. 1956. India. A Toofani takes off into the monsoon sky while news of the Suez Crisis blares over radios. The world is shifting. Powers are realigning. And in the skies of South Asia, this sleek French jet with Indian markings writes its own chapter in global aviation. So why does this story matter now? Because military aviation isn't just about steel and thrust. It's about identity. The Toofani wasn't India's fastest jet, but it was one of its first truly modern ones. And that leap from Spitfires to Toofanis is what laid the groundwork for India's future as an aerial power. That's why when we speak of the Toofani, we're not just talking about a machine. We're talking about a rite of passage, about what it means for a nation to grow wings. And if you want to see how far that journey has come, I've linked in the description our latest deep dive on one of Japan's top post-war fighters. A fascinating comparison to how other nations rebuilt their air wings after World War II. Don't miss it. If you found this story moving, enlightening, or simply badass, do give us a like, subscribe for more deeply researched aviation profiles, and hit that bell icon to stay updated. Every click helps us bring more unsung aircraft stories to the spotlight. Because remember, history isn't always about who had the biggest engine. Sometimes it's about who had the courage to take off when no one thought they could.